General Hospital spoilers for Monday, April 21 tease that tensions are rising in Port Charles as a new force named Sidwell officially makes his move, directly challenging the power and long-held dominance of Sonny. Sidwell isn't just quietly building his empire, he's displaying a level of boldness and recklessness that few of Sonny's previous enemies have ever dared to show. Sidwell's relentless provocations, from meddling in Sonny's supply lines to subtly drawing in neutral figures across the city, have sparked a quiet wave of unrest throughout the streets and territories Sonny controls. Natalia, with her complex social connections and sharp instinct for behind-the-scenes developments, is the first to detect something is off. She repeatedly sends pointed warnings to Sonny about the danger Sidwell represents. Natalia notices how Sidwell is carefully choosing his targets, never rushing, but always striking with precision, and stresses that Sonny must not underestimate this new rival. Tension builds within Sonny's inner circle, as everyone realizes their old strategies and calculations may quickly become useless against Sidwell's unpredictable methods. Things escalate further when Tracy, one of Port Charles's most influential figures, both politically and financially, becomes Sidwell's next target. Rather than attacking Sonny's empire head-on, Sidwell opts for a subtler, more dangerous tactic, approaching Tracy quietly and offering her a proposal that's nearly impossible to refuse, though the contents of this offer remain a secret. Its irresistible nature stirs rumors and anxiety among Sonny's allies and anyone connected to Tracy. Natalia warns Sonny this is a particularly perilous move. If Tracy is swayed, the balance of power in Port Charles could tip dramatically in Sidwell's favor. This wouldn't just threaten Sonny's underground operations, it could embolden other enemies lying in wait, triggering a chain reaction of chaos. Seeing the methodical nature of Sidwell's strategy, Sonny realizes this is no ordinary turf war, it's a full-blown conflict, with layers of schemes and the looming possibility of surprise alliances forming at any moment. Sonny won't just be fending off isolated attacks. He may soon be facing total encirclement if Sidwell succeeds in recruiting people like Tracy. This wave of tension signals a turbulent new chapter for Port Charles, where every move could be a turning point, and where Sonny's power, reputation, and personal safety, along with that of his closest allies, are at greater risk than ever before. Sidwell doesn't just want a piece of the power that has long belonged to Sonny, he's ready to bend the rules of the entire city. And that could be the spark that sets off a wildfire of uncontrollable events in the days to come. Willow never imagined that a seemingly minor decision would unleash a true storm in her life. Her quick signature on a document handed to her by Drew, driven by trust in his reassuring words, became a turning point that brought consequences she couldn't have foreseen. From that moment, Willow's faith in Drew began to crack as dark secrets about him slowly surfaced, creating a profound sense of shock. At first, nothing seemed out of place. Drew always knew how to put her at ease, hiding his internal conflicts behind a warm gaze and confident smile. But just days later, Willow began to sense something wasn't right. She overheard a cryptic phone call between Drew and an unnamed woman, referencing control and a completed plan. Suspicion took hold, compelling Willow to secretly review the paperwork she had signed. That's when the brutal truth came to light. The document wasn't harmless as Drew claimed, it was the key to giving him control over part of her assets, and even major decisions involving her family. Stunned, Willow pieced together his strange behaviors and words, realizing she hadn't just been lied to, she'd been used as a pawn in Drew's power game. What felt like a storyline from a soap opera was now happening in her real life. Worse still, it wasn't over. As her trust shattered, Willow uncovered more of Drew's shady ties to dangerous figures in Port Charles, revealing a complex web of schemes she'd unknowingly stepped into. Her sense of betrayal deepened, morphing into guilt for being too trusting, too naive, and putting herself and her loved ones in harm's way. Now, Willow doesn't know how to face Drew, or what to do to protect her family from the fallout. She can't talk to anyone, sharing the truth could expose everyone to greater danger. Suffocating pressure, sleepless nights, and an overwhelming sense that everything around her is crumbling drive her to the brink. This shocking revelation isn't just a personal tragedy, it marks the start of a new wave of turmoil in Port Charles, where truth, trust, and relationships will be tested to their limits. Willow realizes she's no longer a passive victim. She must choose, remain silent and endure, or rise up to expose Drew's darkest secrets. This is one of the biggest shocks, and the toughest test, Willow has ever faced. And it signals the beginning of a suspenseful, high-stakes chapter, where love, deception, power, and courage collide in a spiraling storm. Jordan's sudden firing by Laura comes as a devastating blow, unleashing a chaotic period in her life. Once in a position of power, used to being in control and respected, Jordan is now cast aside, not just stripped of her job, but also the values she's long upheld. The betrayal and exclusion harden her, slowly pushing her away from the moral standards she once lived by. Her loss of control soon turns into action. Initially, Jordan seeks to clear her name, secretly gathering evidence to understand Laura's decision. But the deeper she digs, the more she uncovers hidden agendas, behind-the-scenes manipulation, and a level of corruption she once ignored, or never knew existed. The distortion of justice and suppression of truth fuel Jordan's growing anger. In the days that follow, she begins making bold, unpredictable moves that shock both allies and enemies. No longer bound by title or official authority, she resorts to cold, calculated methods, breaking into offices, stealing confidential files, and violating principles she once considered sacred. Jordan starts seeking out dangerous players, even meeting with criminals she once aimed to lock up, hoping to build her own shadow network to confront those who ousted her. This darker transformation adds a strange new pressure to the city's already unstable dynamic. Former colleagues grow wary, unsure of what Jordan might do next. And those who thought they'd eliminated her now fear their secrets could be exposed. Rumors spread about a new Jordan, bold and cunning like a ghost, especially after a string of mysterious incidents that upend rival factions and exact severe consequences. Inside, Jordan wrestles with herself. On one hand, she knows she's crossing legal lines, abandoning the ideals she once held dear. On the other, she's convinced it's the only way to reclaim justice. Yet the deeper she descends into the shadows, the more she loses control, frightening those who once loved her. Still, Jordan doesn't hesitate. Day by day, she becomes sharper, colder, and more dangerous. Wild events, exposés, blackmail plots, even public threats of revenge, begin shaking Port Charles, forcing people to take notice and tread carefully around this new, unpredictable version of Jordan. No one knows what her ultimate goal is: vengeance against those who betrayed her, true justice for the city, or simply recovering the identity she lost beneath power, expectation, and betrayal. Her gripping story of downfall, transformation, and reinvention now haunts those who wronged her and serves as a stark reminder of the fragile nature of power and the thin line between justice and darkness. Jordan now walks a razor's edge, and every move she makes from here on could ignite a chain of consequences that will reshape Port Charles. This is the birth of a new Jordan, tougher, more defiant, and willing to change the entire city to get the justice she believes in. Carly is entering the most stressful phase of her life, as the changes brought by Jason are no longer a source of protection or emotional support. Instead, they are gradually becoming the root of deep fractures in the world she once believed was safe. Jason's return, once her companion, confidant, and the only person she could rely on unconditionally, has now turned everything upside down. Jason is no longer the same. His gaze has grown colder, his words fewer, and above all, his actions carry a calculated, enigmatic air that stirs suspicion and confusion in Carly. As small secrets begin to unravel, Carly starts to realize that the subtle changes in Jason may be dragging her into a dangerous spiral she never anticipated. At the same time, her already pressure-filled life becomes even heavier with the re-emergence and new schemes of Brennan. Once just a distant shadow silently observing Carly and those close to her, Brennan now openly reveals his thirst for power. He boldly exerts pressure, deploying cunning, audacious moves to exploit every crack in Carly and Jason's relationship. Brennan doesn't just approach Carly's former allies, he subtly sows seeds of doubt, taking advantage of the current instability to isolate her from her closest friends. He's willing to engineer dangerous situations, forcing Carly into constant crisis mode, from business troubles at the Metro Court and anonymous threats to pressure invading both her personal and professional life. Brennan knows a weakened, distracted, and isolated Carly is the ideal condition for breaking her spirit and pushing her out of her standing in Port Charles. As Jason grows more distant, Carly no longer receives the support, reassurance, or firm promises he once gave. Instead, she must make life-altering decisions on her own, caught between trusting Jason or choosing to protect herself. Some nights, she catches Jason coming home late, his eyes evasive when questioned about secret phone calls or the strange new figures appearing around him. Feeling shut out from all safety nets, secrets, and plans, Carly grows increasingly alone and anxious for her future and that of her loved ones. The combination of Brennan's indirect attacks and Jason's unpredictable transformation pushes Carly to the edge. She must not only fight back against the mounting external threats but also hold her ground, keeping her faith in herself unshaken. Racing against time, she seeks to uncover the truth behind what Jason is hiding. She knows even one small mistake could destroy everything she's built, her career, her reputation, even her family's safety. The stifling atmosphere and mounting pressure forge a sharper, more resolute version of Carly. She realizes that some changes must be faced proactively, and now, only strength, resilience, and at times, a touch of cold-blooded resolve will help her survive the forces trying to destroy her. Carly begins tracking Jason's every move, hiring a private investigator, secretly reconnecting with former allies, and preparing a shield for herself, one that doesn't rely on anyone, not even Jason. Brennan's growing confidence in exposing his dark strategies, from bribing staff at Carly's hotel to spreading malicious rumors about her business relationships, signals the arrival of a true storm in Port Charles and in Carly's own life. Ultimately, she stands at a painful crossroads, either succumb to the chaos or rise up, take control of her destiny, and protect herself and what she holds dearest. The impending clash with Jason and Brennan promises to erupt with intensity, unmasking hidden truths and triggering irreversible changes for everyone involved. This is not just a battle of power and conspiracy, it's a journey of Carly asserting her strength and worth in the heart of Port Charles's storm. Emma has just experienced a major shock after accidentally uncovering an explosive truth. Jocelyn is actually a covert agent for the WSB, one of the world's most powerful underground organizations. At first, Emma only had vague suspicions. She noticed Jocelyn acting strangely, disappearing during crucial moments, receiving secret international calls in the middle of the night, and appearing in sensitive locations around Port Charles without any clear explanation. Driven by curiosity, Emma decided to investigate on her own. One day, when Jocelyn carelessly left her phone and bag behind in a cafe, Emma discovered a high-tech communication device with a tracking chip and a small notebook filled with complex, unfamiliar coded messages. Initially thinking it was just a prank, she snapped photos of the symbols and sent them to a tech-savvy friend, only to receive confirmation that the codes belonged to the WSB, an intelligence agency involved in numerous international cases she had read about in her parents' files. Determined to get to the bottom of things, Emma began closely observing Jocelyn's schedule, habits, and interactions. She discovered Jocelyn regularly met with well-dressed strangers who arrived in luxury vehicles and stayed in Port Charles only briefly. The breaking point came one night when Emma witnessed Jocelyn exchanging something with a mysterious man before vanishing into the darkness. Emma's mind spun with feelings of betrayal and fear that her friend had been drawn into a dangerous organization. As all the pieces fell into place, Emma could no longer deny the truth. Jocelyn was an embedded WSB agent in Port Charles, on a secret mission that could involve powerful forces and mysteries no one in town had ever imagined. The shock didn't just leave Emma reeling, it also placed her in an impossible position. If she kept the secret, she risked getting swept into danger. If she exposed it, She could upend relationships and set off an unpredictable chain of events, endangering everyone involved. Moreover, this discovery might trigger a series of large-scale incidents. Port Charles, already far from peaceful, could now become the epicenter of a confrontation between the WSB and other underground factions, where anyone could become a target, a victim, or an unwilling accomplice. Emma knew this secret, if revealed, would no longer be just about Jocelyn. It threatened the safety, trust, and future of their families, friends, and the entire town. Inside Emma now churned a storm of emotions: shock, heartbreak, anxiety, and the helplessness of standing on the thin line between friendship and the duty to warn others of the looming threat. No matter what decision she makes, one thing is certain: this earth-shattering discovery will open a new, explosive chapter, where every secret, scheme, and ambition will be forced into the light, unleashing unprecedented conflict and challenges for Port Charles, and for Emma herself.